don't make us who we are. So I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is...
We got it. Hi, everybody. It's Michelle and
Maren. Hello.
Maren, and it is our, and I'm going to add more M's to it. I'm going to add, it is our magical manifestation mentorship Mondays that we're here. And this is episode number 2. And we're very excited. I'm so glad that everybody was able to pop on and see the video, the first one that we put on. And we're going to do our very best to pop these out every Monday, because there's so much that comes out of us. And it was funny because we were just talking just before, and we were really kind of getting on a roll and talking about things. And we're like, okay, we should press record, because that's the whole point of this. The whole point is there's, this really is a very relaxed conversational style of, talking about our experiences and answering your questions, because there's a lot of really great questions that came up in the comments. And I would really like to encourage you guys to, to pose your questions, because that's what we want. We want to interact. And, we're here to, not only help share our knowledge with you guys, but to also gain knowledge ourselves. Like, that's what this is all about. It's a teaching and learning experience for all of us, because we are all growing. We are all learning. And when it comes to mediumship, when it comes to our spiritual journey, it is impossible to know everything. It's impossible. There's just so much to it. And as we go down this path, it becomes more expansive and deeper, and we learn and understand more. And, so it's really great to have this place here to be able to come together and share. So please put up your questions, because Maren and I will read them. And we're going to select some questions for different episodes. And that's what we're doing today, actually. There was a really good question that came out, and Maren actually did some meditation and had kind of, brought forward some information. So, Maren, do you want to start and just
Okay,
talk
sure.
about what you got there?
Sure. So the question was the difference between spontaneous spirit experiences versus intentional spirit experiences. And I think that the person asking the question was having trouble. Like, yes, they have all these unintentional experiences, but how now do you have an intentional spirit experience? How do you connect intentionally?
Mm-hmm.
So I did do a meditation on it. I came up with 2 things. And so you'll have to help me explain these. But the first one was this phrase that always gets in my head sometimes, and it's, I believe that we will win. And it's the believe out of that. I think when you understand energy and I believe that they're there, I'm putting out that energy of belief that it's going to happen. Then it happens. When you doubt that you're not going to get there, or that it's not going to happen, or that spirit's not there, then it won't happen. I had a really great partner tell me that I was really nervous before reading her. And she said, don't be nervous. They're always there. They're always right there. And that really helped with my belief, because I felt like I had to raise so hard and try so hard and grasp so hard. And then as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, you're right. They're right there. And so now I kind of like always imagine them like coming in from the side, and that helps me. I don't know if you have anything you want to say about the belief.
Yeah, well, and that really is the truth. That's the truth, because we've talked about this before, but our belief system is where our manifestations come from. It's everything. What we believe in is what really does create our experiences. And yes, there's more that comes into that, but something that I was just picking up on, or getting when you were talking about this, is also when we first have our awakening. So for many of us, not everybody maybe is tuned in, like speaking to their guides or really, seeing their loved ones at a certain point. And you and I both have been in that situation where we can kind of look back and say, okay, well, I might have known things or felt things, or, and you start to realize I've kind of been doing this my whole life, but not really understanding.
Yeah.
But we all have that point. And like, so as we know, when you were telling your story in the last episode, kind of what that point was for you. And for me, that point was about the time I had cancer. So that was my awakening point, because that was such a big shift for me. Now, why I'm bringing this up is because at that point, I had prior to cancer, I had a belief system of knowing that there's something there. I know there's something there. And I believe, I knew that I had intuition. I knew that there was something beyond our physical body. Did I 100% believe that I was communicating with spirits? No, I didn't. Did I 100% believe or would even have thought that I'd be sitting here doing this at that time? No. And what happened was right at the beginning of my awakening, things started to move very quickly. And so I had experiences where they were very high vibrational experiences, very intense spiritual experiences, um, very physical experiences, like seeing lights and manifestations and seeing the flash of the side of a spirit arm. I have told the story many times, waking up and seeing like the universal grid and seeing all the lines moving all throughout my house, coming from my body, going through my house to outside, like seeing how we're all connected. I was sitting on my couch with another person that was a healer, and we were sitting together one night and we were using our phones and watching orbs. So having a little orb show. And with our physical eyes, what comes right up between our legs is this big blue spark. It was Archangel Michael. And it was this big blue spark. And it was so clear and so vivid. But these are these experiences that often we're so excited to share them, especially when we're first having our awakening. And whether we're sharing them or not, that's those experiences that really get us like, oh my God, this is real. There is something beyond this. I've had many people come to me and they said, well, I saw, my mother, my father, my child, I saw them in the dream so vividly and then it stopped. Or I saw them in spirit and then I never saw it again. Or I had this intense experience where I heard something and then I didn't hear it again. And so why does that happen? And then why does it tend to pull itself back? And maybe these experiences don't seem to happen, or the intensity pulls down, where we're already at this point where we know it's real, we're working on it, we're doing the meditation, doing everything. Well, what spirit has shared with me was that in our awakening period, we often have we're having an opening, we're having a Kundalini experience, which happens more than once. We have many awakenings over the course of our spiritual journey, but that first one is like a lightning crack. And so vibrationally, what's happening is we're having an intense opening in our vibration. And we also, there's assistance that happens in that too. So if you think about when we're having an awakening, there's a very specific reason why it's happening at the time in our life that it is. Are we about to go through something? Have we just gone through something? This is very connected to our life purpose. And what I will say is connected to the opportunities for you to make choices. Because remember, all these things don't happen to say this is definitely going to happen to you and this is how it's going to happen. And everything's timed out to the day. And it's more like our blueprint in life and why we're awakening and when we do happens to give us the opportunities to make the choices because it's our free will, right? So the reason why this happens is to give us that experience of belief. It's to give us that experience. So spirit can intensify energy. There's a lot of things that can happen, and of course it depends on who we are, what is our journey, where are we at, why one person experiences something one way and another person experiences another. But if we didn't have those experiences in the beginning, it would be quite difficult to jump from one space of belief completely to another. So it's like a gateway. It
Yeah.
allows us to have this vibrational, kind of like this little extra propeller vibrationally to help us, because we really can't jump from one lily pad to the other so quickly. And so, if you are in this space right now where, you've experienced something and now it's slowed down, or you're trying to intentionally create an experience, know that, and Maren, you can comment on this for yourself, but for myself, do I still have intense experiences like that? I do. I do sometimes, but not every day, not all day. If I intentionally am sitting down to connect with spirit, a lot of times it's quiet in meditation and speaking, and it's inside my head. And um, but I'm doing this all day, every day, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm seeing flashing lights and all kinds of things like maybe I would have seen at some point. Um, but that's just one thing. And Mary, you're so right. Belief system is the biggest and most important thing for us to not only examine in our life, but also to understand that this is energy. This is
Yeah.
all about energy. And so when you understand energy, when you understand how energy works and understand science, it helps really explain the rest of it. And I know that a lot of people would come to me and be thinking more in the way of it being like magic, like mystical magic, like unicorns and that sort of thing, and have a really hard time bridging that. And so if you really take the time to look at the physics and look at energy, it can really help you bridge that over.
Yeah. And that makes me think of, because it's, when you talk about belief, it's the belief, it's putting out the energy that I can do it, which is the second thing that I meditated on that I got, which is, makes me think of like your self-talk. Like if you say to yourself, I cannot do this, or I don't think it'll be there, or you're putting out that vibrational energy. But if you're saying to yourself, I can do this, and have an open mind, the playful attitude, then you're putting out that belief energy. And so the second thing that I heard was ego, and that ego can interfere, which is that negative self-talk. So, and I am constantly battling that and having to say, okay, step aside, step aside. When I was first awakening and meditating, I really didn't have an ego because I had no expectations. So I would just meditate and like just focus on my breathing. And then all of a sudden I would see an image. But then I kind of got better, and like I would focus on a image and my ego started coming in and going, oh, why am I not seeing an image right now? I should already see an image. This has been 5 minutes and I haven't seen an image, or, oh, well, I heard them like this last week and I'm hearing them like this, and that's all ego. And so I just have to tell myself, it's okay, like step aside. And one thing like with growth that I heard was, maybe you're not hearing them like that anymore because you're growing and you don't need to hear them like that anymore. Like I used to, at the very beginning, when they would come in, I would get this big swoosh down my arm. And then all of a sudden I stopped getting the swoosh, but I was still hearing them. And I was like, I don't have the swoosh. It can't be them. How, but then I heard that piece of advice. Well, you don't need the swoosh anymore. You just hear them. And so getting ego out of the way, if you want to talk about that, was the other thing that I picked up on.
And that is a huge one, because a lot of people really battle with that, and of course, because we're human.
Yeah.
And we need an ego, like don't forget that you're having a human experience. So yes, we are spirit and we're multidimensional. So we are spirit and we're human. Um, I think that it's really important to remember that It does take time to practice with the ego, but what you said, Maren, set the ego aside. So you say, okay, thanks, ego, for being there when I need you. Thanks for being there when I need you, but I don't need you to participate in this with me. I don't need you right now. And it's important to remember that having an ego is fine, but it doesn't need to play in this with us. And when the ego comes in, remember, ego is connected to the mind. And so the mind's job is to work things out. The mind works in a linear form. The mind works with um, physical things, taking action. The mind tries to sort things out. But the other part of the mind is part of the recording, in your life. It's part of it's part of what's the word that I'm looking for? I want to say loops, but I'm thinking of words here and they're not coming to me. So I'm so used to channeling, I don't even know my own words. Um, it's part of the tapes that are played in our life. So it learns from our experiences.
Okay.
So, when we go through certain things right from childhood, it records those things again back to belief, but it records those things that are, is this happening because you didn't do this? Or is this, so when you're using the example of, okay, I've been here for 5 minutes, why is this not happening? Well, it's not happening because you didn't do this right, or you did, is it recording a critical voice that you once heard? Is
Mhm.
it, is it remembering a teacher that told you that you weren't good enough at doing something? So it's recognizing as well that when the ego comes up, be okay with understanding what it's saying to you. Be okay with saying, oh, it's coming up to remind me that when I believe in myself, I've gone through experiences before in my past that have told me I wasn't good enough. And is that true? Is that true? And no, it's not true, because you're not your experiences. You are not your experiences. Those are what have taken place. So the ego is something that a lot of people will say, well, I've got to push it aside and I've got to, knock it out of my life. But this is understanding discernment with ego,
Yeah.
right? So what is it here to tell me? Does it actually belong in this situation with me right now? Do I need it? Or is it here because it's used to playing a routine, a role, a cycle? Is it reminding me of something that isn't actually happening? Because that story that maybe you were doubted in your life, or those situations where we felt, oh, I'm not good enough, or something's wrong, or this can't be happening. Is that something that's just coming in because it's been heard, or is it actually present in this moment? And so then that again is belief, and to make the decision to say, no, I don't need that in this moment. And all you have to do is be able to, and this does take practice too. So remember, when I say all you have to do, it really is that simple, but then it takes practice to
Yeah.
continue and do that. And that's where our dedication comes in. That's where the dedication to saying that I don't need this. This is not part of this moment for me. Um, I think if there's anything else about that. Um, was there something else that you said that came up for you besides ego? Did you say
Um,
something else?
no, I think that's it. I think too, like, one thing that really helped me was, I would always say, um, the affirmation, if this is where I am today,
Hmm.
where will I be tomorrow? To go easy on myself. Like, it's okay, like, um, I had one, client that I was working with, and we did a meditation together, and she said she saw a light, but she still doesn't think she can do this,
Yeah.
but it's like, that's where I was. This is where I am today. Think about where I'll be tomorrow. To
Yes.
kind of just your ego
Yes.
aside.
Yes. And that's beautiful. That really is. And and it's very exciting, because think of the power behind that when you say that every day to yourself. When you give yourself that permission slip and you say that, think of what absolute power you're creating in yourself, because that's how you build confidence. It's when
Yeah.
you choose to believe the good things, when you choose to be patient with yourself. And that's presence as well. And something else to remind yourself of is that spirit's in the moment with us. Spirit's not in the past. Those are memories, right? Spirit's not off in the future worrying about things. Spirit is present right in this moment. So when we bring ourselves back to this moment and remind ourselves of what is right now, we're being present. And
Yeah.
that's right where spirit is with us, and being okay with exactly where things are right in this moment. When you continue to bring yourself back to the present, and all kinds of things like Maren just spoke of, like breathing, meditation, all of these things are ways to help bring us back into the moment. And it's quite amazing. And we were saying about negative self-talk and affirmations, and all of those things, um, I find that it's maybe challenging for some to believe in it, because it doesn't always bring you what you're looking for in the moment, or say, um, it doesn't always bring you what you're looking for quick enough. And that's patience and expectation and everything too, because sometimes it does take a little bit of work and trust in ourselves. But that's really what this is all about too, because you're creating this. You're
Mhm.
creating this reality. You're creating this for yourself. And this is the thing is there's nobody in this world that cannot connect with spirit.
I know. I have to, even just like saying that now, it makes me so hopeful for my future. Like, if this is
Yeah.
where I am today, I'm on with Michelle Gray. If this is where I am today, imagine.
That's crazy. You say
where
that,
I'll
and
be.
I'm like, no, come on now. Come on. But no, but I say like, I think about myself and where I was 7 years ago and 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, I was laying in my bed and I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was upset, and I felt like I didn't amount to anything in life. And I was very proud to be a mother and very happy to be a mother, but I started thinking about my kids have their own lives. Like, my kids are going to grow to be who they want to be, and I'm not always going to be right there helping them get dressed and helping them, who am I really? Like, who is me? What am I here for? And if anybody had to told me that this is where I would be, I mean, I'd be like, that sounds awesome. Like, I would absolutely love that. But if I can come from laying in my bed to the sheets over my head and not even wanting to answer the door and seeing people, if I can come from that to being here and sharing this, anybody can. Anybody can. But it's so true. It's like, this is where we are today. Oh my gosh. Like, where will things be in 10 years? Where will things be tomorrow, next week, next month?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's incredible. And I want every single person that's listening to this right now, because you are watching this right now, because this is a spark within you, or else you wouldn't even be drawn to this. Because the truth is not everybody in the world is even interested in doing it. And that's okay. That's okay, because everybody does have a different path, you know, but if you want to, everybody can. If that desire is within you to connect with spirit, if that desire is within you to help other people, to heal other people, you can do this. And you already are this. That's the thing. It's not about trying to obtain something that somebody else has or that's being dangled in front of you. You really already are this. You already are spirit. So, anyway, before I get off onto a whole tangent, because I feel like I'm ready to do my TED talk here, just keep going on. But so, did anything else come up in your meditation?
I think those were like the main things, is just the energy of belief and the getting the ego to, which is all self-talk. It's just all energy, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I think we'll do an episode one time, and we will talk all about energy. We'll really get into that, and we'll get into kind of the ins and outs of energy and what it means to us, and what it means to spirit, and how we work with it, because that's really a whole conversation in itself, with how fascinating it is,
yeah,
and it is everything. It
yeah,
really is everything in our life has a vibration
yeah.
and energy.
So
So,
I think,
was there any,
well,
yeah,
I was just say, so to recap, if someone's
yeah,
having spontaneous spiritual experiences, which I'm assuming is everyone, or most people, and then to get it to go from spontaneous to intentional, you're saying the belief
mhm,
system, which will raise your vibrations, right? And then to just hold that positive energy. Is
mhm.
that a good recap? Or is there anything I'm missing?
It is. The only other thing I would add to this, and is you when we were talking, Maren and I were just talking a little bit before, and I'd mentioned this. Remember that to raise your own vibration is to be as close to who your authentic self is in the moment that you're in,
It's a good one.
right? So,
Okay.
so, and this is because everything is connected. Everything in our life, everything that we do, our our relationships, who we are behind closed doors, who we are out in the public. um this is not about saying, and please hear this, this is not about living a way that we think is spiritual. Okay, it's not about this, I'm good, I'm bad, this is right, this is wrong. Authenticity is understanding what we believe in today. Where is our beliefs? It's holding that positivity. So that is a choice, a higher vibrational choice. And so just to add on to that, everything that we do, if you want to do one practice for yourself to really start to see, where's my authenticity? Where am I at today with my own authenticity? A really good practice for that is to slow yourself down in each day and start to examine, because when you do this, you'll realize how many choices you make in a day. But really examine every choice that you make, whether it is the store and which toothbrush color am I picking out, buying a toothbrush, or, where I put my shoes when I come in the house. Be as conscious as you can for one day and think about every choice that you make, and make that decision based on what feels right for you, and start to look at what decisions are popping up, or what things are popping up that you're making that decision for somebody else. Am I doing this because? And if you slow it down and go, oh, well, I put my shoes here because this upsets so and so. Okay, now, and hear me out too. Yes, there are things that we do that sometimes are for other people, and that's okay. But you have to know, am I doing this? This bothers me, but I do it because I don't want to have discord with this person. Or am I choosing this toothbrush color because so and so likes it, but I've never really liked it, but I don't want that person to feel badly of me, right? So really slow things down, because this is a practice that we can do within ourselves at any time. And when we start to examine the small things, when bigger decisions start to come up, and things like, if you're being invited to do something, and is it something that you really want to do? Well, instead of just answering, yes, I'll go, or yes, I'll help, practice saying, can I get back to you on that? Can I give you a call later and let you know? Start giving yourself some permission to slow things down and not feel. And the reason why I express this is, many of us that are healers and that are um, drawn to service work, mediumship, and healing with other people have gone through experiences or are still going through people pleasing. And when we are people pleasing, we're not living in our authenticity. And every person will live to have a need met, meaning even when you're people pleasing, there's a need being met within you, because what you're doing is you're allowing somebody else to take control of something in order to not feel bad inside. But when you examine, well, why is that feeling bad? You start to get into that core, then you start to chip away at where your authenticity is. And that's not always the most comfortable thing to do because it can be difficult. But if you take the time and work at that, that's something that really shifts your vibration. And it's very empowering and it builds your confidence. And so as you're working through your mediumship and everything else, you'll notice that all of this trickles into it.
Well, so it's so funny because you say that, I'm like, oh, I was doing that. So when I had my awakening, I shared before, I got really into yoga and meditation, which is living mindfully. And so I would start each morning just trying to be so present. And what that feels like, so I'm very clairsentient, what that feels like to me is slowing down. And you're not just making kids breakfast, making my breakfast, doing this, then doing that, then going here, then going there. It's like I would sit and it was like time slowed. And I was really conscious of my act, what I was putting out, which made me more authentic, right? I'm not just like, yep, blah, blah, blah. Like I was really mindful about the way I perceived information and then the way I expressed information, which helped with my authenticity, I think, and gave me a lot of confidence to do things like you said, not be the people pleaser. And there's like one of the snowball things that happened was when I took time for myself, is what kind of got me through all of this. I had a knee injury and was like forced to go to physical therapy. And I was like, and so I had to make the time, which I never made time for myself before that. And then I was in there and I'm like, why was this so hard for me to make this much time for myself? Like, like why did it take this to do that? But anyways, people pleasing and just living mindfully and living in the presence is really, truly what got me started at the big bang, So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that right there, guys, like that is the really the starting point of everything.
Yeah.
Because all of this is connected. It's not only about practicing the connection with spirit and how do I hear. This is how do you live your life? This is how am I functioning through life? Because vibrational it's much harder to be at a vibration that and vibration is not better or worse or anything. It just is. Vibration is just where we're at, just like radio stations. We have a preference, what feels good, where we are. So when spirit is, their radio station is over here and your radio station is over here. So your frequency. And so to connect, again, it's the example of the lily pads. Like, how do I jump over here? Well, spirit actually does move towards us. So they're able to connect to us and give us what we are able to receive. So when we are, say, being careful with my words here. When I want to say when we're only, but when we are focusing on the moments that we're intentionally connecting with spirit, and we're using those moments to meditate before connecting, to light the candle, to call in the guides, to do all those things. When we're doing that, yes, we are raising our vibration. Yes, those things do happen. And yes, we do receive communication. But when we are mindful, when we're doing these other practices in our life, we're connecting to our true self. We're being authentic to our life experience. And that is what spirit is. Spirit is our true essence. I'm sure, Maren, you've noticed that many of the spirits that come through, their most important message is to want their loved ones and friends and family to live happily, to be at peace.
Yeah.
And that the care is no longer about how much money was in the bank or You know, it's about the relationship, it's about the presence, it's about the memories, it's about the good feelings. And that's really, you know, if we can take anything from all of this, is how are you experiencing each day, and be okay with wherever that's at, accept where that's at, because we're going to have days that are going to feel lower than days that feel higher. But when we start to really be present with ourselves, we begin to have a vibrational set point that starts to maintain. And it's not that life gets easier, it's that we are able to cope differently with life. We're able to walk through. And what also happens is we have this experience that takes place organically with spirit that just continues to grow. And so it's all hand in hand. So I think that's, you know, a really good point that you made about what happened to you and what you were doing. It's the truth, you know, really is. Is there anything else you want to add before we close?
No, that was beautiful.
No. Yeah. So guys, we love you. We love your questions. We thank you so much for joining us again for another magical, manifestational
Monday.
mentorship Monday with Michelle and Maren. So thanks, guys. We love
Thank you
you,
guys.
and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.